Occasionally, when your characters are taking a short or long rest, ask your players to describe what their characters are thinking about the current situation or what they've done in the past or what their goals are for the future. This is really a great way to dive into not just the heads of the characters to understand what they're thinking about, but actually into the heads of the players to understand what they're thinking about in relation to their characters. It's a great way of handing the story over to the players and letting them kind of build out parts of the world through the eyes of their character. So how do we actually do this? When the characters are going to take this short or long rest, we can stop for a moment and ask for a volunteer to talk about what their character is thinking about what has happened recently or what's happened in the past, what their goals are or their plans are for the future, or just what they are thinking about the current situation. And usually one of our players will step forward with some of these ideas. There's almost always one of our players who's eager to jump on such opportunities to talk about what their characters are thinking. We let them talk about it, and while we do so, the other players have opportunities to think about what their characters are thinking about. And then we go down each of the characters and ask their player to describe what their character is thinking about the situation. Maybe they're sharing a conversation with one of the other characters, or maybe they're just kind of thinking about the situation as it's going on, or maybe all the characters together are starting to think about what their plans are or what choices they're going to make in the future. Not every player will be on board with this idea, and it's perfectly fine if their character is just sitting there moodily sharpening their sword while everybody else is talking. Not everybody has to engage in this activity for it to be worthwhile, and you really don't want to push players if they're not comfortable with this idea. There are a lot of tremendous advantages to this idea. First, it really helps us focus down on the most important thing that's going on in our game, which is what's going on in the minds of the characters. This is why it's step 1 from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master. We want to focus on the characters, and this is a really good way for us as DMs to step back and really get an understanding of what the players are thinking about in relation to those characters. We can really fill out all of the information we need about the characters and use it while we're preparing the rest of our campaign. Second, it gives us a very important view into the game from the minds of the players. As we hear them talking about what they're thinking about for their characters, we're also getting a good understanding of what the players are thinking about. This is really a lot like Stars and Wishes, in which we ask each of the players to describe something that they've enjoyed in a previous game and something that they're looking forward to in the future, only we're doing it through the eyes of their characters. It still gives us all of the advantages of asking the players, but also the advantages of hearing them talk about it in character. And for us lazy dungeon masters, it's a great way to fill up some time. And we get to fill up that time with something that the players are really going to care about, because many players really want to talk about their characters. And this is their opportunity to talk to not just you, but all of the other players about what their character wants, what they're thinking about the past, and what their ideas are for the future. It gives players an opportunity to describe this to everyone else around the table, instead of just kind of keeping it to themselves or making it part of their own headcanon. You don't have to do this for every short or long rest, but you can use it once every few weeks to get a good baseline of what the characters are thinking about what they did in the past and what their ideas are for the future. So it's a good trick to keep in your toolbox and use maybe once every few weeks or every few sessions. Now, if you're having more trouble managing short and long rests in your game, particularly with balancing encounters and things like that, I have a whole other video where I talk about handling rests in D&D. You may want to check that out. It's right here in the thumbnails. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you can subscribe to the Sly Flourish newsletter, support me directly on Patreon, pick up any of my books, or subscribe to my videos right here on YouTube. Thank you very much and have a great day.